First, I want to just show this very brief video. It's a 4-minute video to illustrate the challenges that we face. And one of them we can see right off the bat, which is we have one young man with us, which is great, but we wish that we had many more people in subsequent generations, and they're going to need to be reached in order to make a difference. So this film was part of a contest that National PSR put on to try to come up with something that younger people might be able to relate to it. So take a look.
Hello. When I say nuclear weapons, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Bombs, like really big bombs?
Yeah, big bombs.
Thing?
Mushrooms.
World War II.
Mass destruction.
When it explodes,
Okay.
you know?
The mushroom.
Exactly.
Blowing shit up. Dude.
Yeah,
I'm
mutually
thinking
assured
atomic bombs.
destruction.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
How many nuclear weapons do you think the whole world has right now?
In the whole world.
I hear it's a lot.
Few hundred.
I have no idea.
That's what I said 7.
Oh, I thought you said 7D.
No, I said 7.
Oh,
That's,
well, yeah, once we start,
something
that
might
makes
happen.
sense. All right, I'll go with 7.
I have no idea.
Like 10?
I think more.
We have over 15,000 nuclear warheads.
Oh, wow.
15,000.
Why?
That's scary.
And who are we blowing up? Mars? Like, what are we doing?
It's power, right? So much
But I
power.
don't understand why you need it.
You know, there's 15,000 on the planet, and you know, none of them are in use right now, but the fact that they're in human hands is alarming. I mean, mistakes can be made.
We accidentally dropped 2 nuclear bombs on ourselves in North Carolina. And each of those bombs were 250 times the power of Hiroshima and would have spread lethal doses of radiation to as far as New York City.
How does that happen? Like,
So lost it.
like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just slip through
it's
your
gone.
fingers. Like, that's unbelievable.
The fact that we accidentally dropped 2, who's to say that that mistake won't happen again?
How much do you think we spend every year on nuclear weapons?
In America.
Millions, maybe billions.
I just know it's gonna be too much. Way too much.
Right now, every hour that passes, $2.2 million of taxpayers' money is going directly towards nuclear weapons.
That's crazy.
2.2 million per hour.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Every hour that passes.
Yeah.
Every hour.
Damn.
I knew it was way too much.
On nuclear weapons specifically.
How much do you make hourly? 15 bucks an hour?
We don't have to go there. We don't have to go there.
He's a ballet.
We don't have to go there.
What was it again? Every what?
$2.2 million every hour.
Every hour.
Oh my God.
Man. There are so many things that money can go to.
It's not just the money, but it's they
The
would
time.
use the time and the energy
and the
to
effort
do other
to do all
things.
that. They can use it to do
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that's more
exactly.
beneficial to...
People can't eat bombs and
Exactly.
they can't eat money, you know?
It's not needed. We don't need to invest that much money in something that shouldn't even exist.
I think it raises a question about being aware.
Like, what the f***? And I didn't know about that till just now.
We all need to know that this affects every
Everyone.
single one of us.
The planet.
It's the fact that you possess such an ability to exterminate like so many lives. We all have to be concerned about it.
Nowhere near as many people know enough about the subject. I think it's as simple as just telling people about it, telling people the numbers.
We need to educate people
Yeah.
on, you know, the situation that's happening firsthand.
Yeah, it is gonna affect us the most, dude. Yeah.
So, like, I guess our kids.
Some people don't know the first clue about nuclear war.
We better start thinking in another way to go forward.
It's available. If you can think of any venue to show it or use it as a hook to get younger folks to come in and have a conversation. That's what it's for. It's on our website. It's on the PSR website. You can just look under resources, and it's available. It's on YouTube. It warms our hearts to see it, right? These are, sort of wonderful young people, and it's nicely shot and all that. But the lack of awareness is just shocking when you think about what we face in the world today. I have one more thing to show you just to make you a little bit nervous, and that is in the past year. So we're trying to make good use of it. This is the total number of U.S. nuclear warheads at this point, and we have made progress. In the 1960s and 70s, we had 60,000 of them worldwide, a staggeringly ridiculous number. But still, in 2017, we have 4,000 some of them. And you can see that the U.S. and Russia are at rough parity. Those that are described as retired are, of course, still waiting to be dismantled and could easily be put back into service if someone was misguided enough to want to do that. As was said in that video, 15,000 altogether. So in the op-ed, it sort of describes essentially the massive overkill that we have and the absurdity of that. And it uses language, decimate, in the editorial to describe what it really means to destroy a country. Every major city in a country would be destroyed, and a quarter of the population would be dead. It would take 24 warheads to completely decimate Iraq. It would take 32 warheads to decimate North Korea, 90 warheads to decimate Iran, 147 would decimate Russia. It would take more for China. 789 warheads would decimate China. And still, there would be 2,897 left for God knows what purpose.
And nobody would be able to breathe the air anywhere in
The
about
world-
10 minutes after that.
That is correct.
Yeah. So it kills all of us. Holy crap.
So that's the bad news. Since Trump took office, there is more awareness than there was of what a terrible situation we have created for ourselves. Just today, for example, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee had a hearing which never would have occurred in recent history, which was to consider, does it really make sense that the president has sole authority, in fact, to launch these nuclear weapons? No checks on him to do so.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Yeah, I think the hopeful thing, the most hopeful thing since, I don't know whether you saw my little bio, but I joined PSR Maine in 1983. I had 2 young children then, 2 young boys. I have 3 grandchildren now. And I thought that maybe I could do something to prevent them from having to grow up in a world with nuclear weapons. And that's what energized me to do that. Now it's my grandchildren that do that, and I guess we're further along. But the most important thing that's happened is that 120 nations in the UN, in the General Assembly, voted to enact the treaty to prohibit nuclear weapons. And this treaty is now open for signatures, and when 50 nations ratify it, it will become law. And it's the first time that we will have a legally binding treaty. You may remember the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty of 1968. It's the bedrock on which we've had all our nuclear control. And what happened there was that the countries that didn't have nuclear power, that wanted it, said, okay, you can keep your nuclear weapons. We'll agree not to have nuclear weapons. You let us have nuclear power. But you have to promise, they said in Article 6, that you're going to get rid of nuclear weapons. Well, that didn't work out so well because it was just a promise that they would deliberate on it and that they would work toward it. So They're still working toward it. This treaty, finally, the countries that were non-nuclear armed said the 9 countries that have nuclear weapons can't hold us hostage. We're going to come up with a treaty that makes it illegal for these countries to have nuclear weapons. And that's what's been put in place. And the reason the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, ICAN, got the Nobel Peace Prize is that the Nobel Committee acknowledged how much important work ICAN did to set the stage for that important vote in the UN. So the treaty will limit production, it will stop production, it will stop testing, it will stop the use of nuclear weapons, it will stop the possession of nuclear weapons. The United States and the 9 nuclear-armed countries opposed this, but they weren't able to block it because it was in the General Assembly. And when this is ratified, and I'm pretty confident that it will be ratified, the U.S. will be an outlier to international law. And it will be a matter for our country to come in compliance with that. So there's a handout about this that in very brief terms tells you about the treaty. Peter's handing them out now. So you can use that as a starting point to learn more about it. Now, going on to the movie is based on a very important book that was written by Eric Schlosser called Command and Control, the same title as the movie. And I want you to know that one of the most significant figures in this event, the book takes as its starting point, and the thread that runs throughout the book was one accident that happened in Damascus, Arkansas in 1980 when a Titan II intercontinental ballistic missile with a 9-megaton warhead on top of it blew up. And one of the 2 men that was in the silo when it blew up was a fellow by the name of Jeff Kennedy. Jeff Kennedy was born and raised in South Portland, Maine, graduated from South Portland High School, played basketball there, married his high school sweetheart, started to work as a deckhand on the Casco Bay lines. And when his wife, they had had 1 child and they had a 2nd child on the way, he decided at 18, I have to do something more to support my family. And he joined the Air Force. And he became a technician, a missile technician, and was working at Damascus, Arkansas on a team that was called the Propellant Transfer System, PTS. And you will see him and hear him. He subsequently died, so he's not able to be interviewed. A number of the other people that were involved in the accident are interviewed. But just remember, there's a big Maine connection to this whole story. So without further ado, we'll show this movie, and it talks about the issues of how we command and control nuclear weapons and how you balance the tension between always having them available to use but never wanting them to be used accidentally or without appropriate authorization. Thank you.